I was listening to a guest appearance you made a while back on the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership, where you talked about a match where the Midnight Express were wrestling a very smelly jobber. And it got me thinking, nothing pisses me off more than when I'm at the gym and a smoker starts working out next to me. The sweat smells bad, the lingering cigarette smoke smells even worse, but when the two combine, it's fucking awful. So I'm wondering what you thought, both as a performer and a promoter, about wrestlers who smoke. I can only assume that they literally stink up the ring sometimes, something fierce, but I suppose it could be argued that there are worse drugs for wrestlers to do than cigarettes.
Well, for one thing, unless the guy was standing there in an enclosed room smoking in his wrestling tights, I don't know that it would carry over into the ring. The bigger problem, unless everybody was fighting in their street clothes or whatever, the bigger problem is, as JR mentioned recently on the Experience, was when guys like poor Leon, when Vader would wash your gear, Leon. But no, that was, I don't remember, because, I mean, it's not like, even if Ric Flair smoked, if he's going to stand there in his fucking $10,000 robe, smoke a pack of cigarettes to make the robe smell like smoke. I remember Bill Watts telling a story, he was always so miserable when he first got in the office in Oklahoma and bought in with the territory with Leroy McGurk, and he was booking for Leroy, and Leroy would have him and his cronies in the office, and Watts would go in there and spend the day with them, and they're all smoking big cigars. And he said he'd leave the office and go home, and he'd open his briefcase, and cigar smoke would come out of the briefcase. It was everywhere. And JR tells a story about driving McGurk around and having to light his cigars for him because he was blind and shit. But I don't recall that odor. There's a lot of other odors that go on in a wrestling match and in a wrestling ring, especially in the old territory days when guys wrestled every night of the week and they didn't have as many seamstresses and laundry people to take care of their gear as they do now. So I don't think that's really too much of a problem.
Other than Fritz Von Erich, who smoked more than anyone else you've ever seen in wrestling?
Okay, well, and I'm glad you mentioned him. God damn. Bobby Fulton was bad at one time just because he was so nervous. When he was running his own shows years ago, he'd hit the ring on 4 of the 6 matches and start beating guys up if it didn't go his way, and he'd smoke a pack of cigarettes. But Fritz may take the cake, but then the Sputnik Monroe, the limited times that I was able to be around him was like a chimney at all times. And of course, as guys have gotten more health conscious. Of course, I don't know. Like he said at the end of the thing, it could be one of the safer drugs, nicotine or whatever. Guys, I was going to say, as guys got more health conscious, like by the 80s, most of the guys weren't smoking in the light, but then they were also doing cocaine and steroids and everything else. So this generation is cleaned out of everything.